must first conquer distance. When his orders were at the mercy of tired horses and treacherous roads? Now, let us open the chronicles of war. In the early 13th century, the world was a vast and fractured space.
For the newly proclaimed Genghis Khan, this presented the ultimate strategic paradox.
His armies, a whirlwind of disciplined cavalry, could conquer territory at a breathtaking pace.
Yet, victory on the battlefield created a crisis of command. The Mongol Empire was expanding faster than news of its own existence.
An order issued from the capital at Karakorum, destined for a general campaigning in Persia, would not arrive for months, rendered obsolete by the shifting realities of war. This was the tyranny of distance, the ancient enemy of every conqueror. When we analyze this fundamental problem, a distant general could be defeated, his entire army annihilated, and the Khan would remain ignorant for the better part of a year. A rebellion could ignite and spread, gaining unstoppable momentum before the central government could even dispatch a single scout.
Logistical coordination for multi-pronged invasions became a nightmare of guesswork and luck. The empire was a giant, powerful, but without nerves. It could crush nations, yet react too late to its own wounds. Historical records show that previous steppe confederations had all shattered, and there was no institutional structure to bind it together. Genghis Khan understood this fatal flaw. He was not merely building an army, he was engineering a state.
He knew that to control his conquests, the lone messenger, weary and vulnerable, was no longer sufficient.
An entire system was needed, a revolutionary network that could turn the vast, unforgiving landscape.
The challenge was immense. To create a web of communication that could outpace rumor, rebellion. The survival of his world-spanning vision depended entirely on solving it. The solution was not a mere refinement. It was a radical reinvention, a living network of arteries pulsing through the empire.
Designed to pump information and authority across the continent with unparalleled speed.
It was called the Yam. When we analyze the Yam, it is a mistake to see it as a mere postal service.
This system became the true engine of Mongol conquest and administration, more vital than any single army.
The foundational unit of this network was the relay station, the Urta. A messenger arriving at an Urta would find everything he needed. Fresh horses, already saddled. Food and drink, ready to be consumed. A place for the briefest of rests, if absolutely necessary.
The system was designed for one purpose: perpetual forward motion. The message, not the messenger, was the priority.
Mongol law was absolute on this point. Any interference with a Yam rider was an act of treason, punishable by death. The riders themselves were a special breed. They would ride in punishing conditions, wrapped tightly in cloth. Upon approaching a station, a rider would sound a horn, signaling his imminent arrival so that the station keepers could have his next mount prepared.
Quickly, saddle up!
Before he even dismounted, there was no delay. A new plume of dust rising on the horizon. This relentless pace allowed the Yam to achieve speeds that were simply unimaginable.
To the Mongols' adversaries, a critical dispatch could travel over 200 miles in a single day.
In Europe, a royal message might be lucky to cover 50. This differential in the speed of information was a strategic advantage of colossal proportions. But what gave the rider his authority? What compelled a local governor to provide the best horse?
The answer lay in a simple yet profoundly powerful object: the paisa. The paisa was a tablet, typically made of wood, silver, or gold, bearing the seal of the Khan. It was not a request. It was a physical manifestation of the Emperor's will. A rider carrying a...
He held the power of life and death.
To deny him anything was to defy the great Khan directly, an act with only one possible outcome.
Here, we see the fusion of logistical infrastructure with absolute political power. The Yam was not a public service. It was the exclusive tool of the Mongol state.
It ensured that the Khan's commands were not only delivered quickly, but were obeyed without question upon arrival.
Impulse! Now!
This system utterly transformed the landscape of warfare and governance.
Militarily, it allowed for the coordination of vast, multi-pronged invasions that baffled Mongol enemies. Generals on separate fronts could act in concert, their movements synchronized by a steady stream of intelligence and orders from the heart of Karakorum. When we analyze the Mongol invasions of Khwarezmia or Russia, armies separated by hundreds of miles converged on strategic targets simultaneously.
We know, Lord, have mercy on my soul. Deliver us from this evil. Furthermore, the Yam functioned as an early warning system. Reports from scouts on the Empire's frontiers could reach the capital in a matter of weeks, not months.
This allowed the Mongols to seize the initiative, launching preemptive strikes before their enemies had even finished mobilizing. It ferried administrators, imperial envoys, and tribute across the vast territory, binding the conquered lands to the Mongol heartland.
It facilitated trade, inadvertently fostering the very connections that would later be called the Silk Road.
The cost of maintaining such a system was staggering, requiring a massive diversion of resources.
In sheer numbers alone, the Abbasid defenders were dwarfed. A tide of 20,000 facing a storm of more than...
But to the Khans, this was not an expense. It was an investment in the single most critical asset an empire can possess: control.
The true legacy of the Yam extends far beyond the realm of military command. While it was forged as a tool of...
The Yam did not just shrink the Mongol Empire for its rulers. It effectively shrank the known world for everyone. The world itself compresses. East and West are drawn together. For the first time in history, a single, secure communication network spanned the entire breadth of Asia.
Under Baiju Noyan, the right wing swept west of Baghdad, crossing the Tigris and establishing control on the far bank.
Merchants like Marco Polo could travel from Venice to China, protected by the authority embodied in the Paisa.
Finest silks from the east, 50 dinars a boat.
I will take 2 scoops of the
I will
paprika.
give you 25 for 2 boats.
Fresh
Finest
spices
silks
here,
and pottery
best price.
here.
but also something far more transformative: knowledge.
There is no escape. Let the fires consume them all.
Technologies that would fundamentally reshape Europe traveled west along the Yam's arteries.
In the opposite direction, European science, art, and religion made their way east, creating a cross-pollination of cultures on a continental scale. This was not a side effect of the Mongol Empire. It was a direct consequence of the strategic infrastructure built to control it. The Mongol Khanates broke apart into the Golden Horde, the Ilkhanate, and the Yuan dynasty.
The Yam fractured with them. The seamless continental network dissolved. The vital flow of information and trade slowed to a trickle, and the arteries of the empire began to harden. The tyranny of distance, which the Yam had so brilliantly defeated, began to reassert itself. Grew larger once more. Yet, the system itself vanished, but the world it had revealed would never be unseen again.
From iron and blood rose connection and light.
It demonstrates how a network designed to project power can inadvertently become a bridge between civilizations.